honor to God, to our pastor and shepherd of this flock, who thought it not robbery to open the doors of this church so the family could have this service for our beloved brother Frank. Give a hand to Reverend Presley for And let me say that there are many ministers that would not, under these circumstances, open the doors. Some would say that it's controversial. Some would say that they don't know how the city is going to react. So we ought not take for granted that Reverend Presley said that this is a house of God for all of God's children. And I wanted to thank him for doing what he was called to do and having the courage of his conviction. We have too many punks in the pulpit. But you have stood up. I want to also, look like you know one or two of them. All right. Let me also thank my brother and friend. I call him the Attorney General of Black America. No one has stood stronger and longer and got more done. He takes some criticism, but if they're not criticizing you, you're not doing nothing. Give a hand, Attorney General Ben Crump. And certainly I brought several people with me, but I must recognize the head of National Action Network's chapter in Cleveland. Stand up. And she is one of our best chapter leaders. And all of our members, I see Detroit and all. And I was introduced by the chairman of our Cleveland chapter, Marcia McCoy. I didn't give her name, I'm sorry. Dr. Marcia McCoy. I was introduced by the chairman of the chapter. And he read my introduction just like I wrote it. He's 96 years old and still out here. Give him a big hand, Reverend Canton. You know, 20 years ago, I ran for president, and today she's recognized, my sister, beloved, who's a true activist in every sense of the word, Dr. Melina Abdullah. Stand up again. She's running for vice president. And Melina, I'll lend Dr. Cabinet to you to introduce you as you go around the country. He'll make you feel good. I also want to recognize I brought with me one of our national board members, Reverend Steffi Bartley, staff member Reverend Stephen Marshall. My youngest daughter's with me, Ashley. But I got a call late last night saying, you going to Canton? I said, you know I'm going. He said, well, I'm going with you. The brother of George Floyd, Terrence Floyd. But I want you to know that we're here to stand with John and Melvin and Darren, Jasmine, Sabrina, who stood by 24 years. Angela, Ronald Simmons, all of them. We're here for the family because they're going to be going through, when all those cameras are gone, having to deal with the issue of justice. And I didn't want to send a statement. I wanted to come. And I want them to know I'll be there whatever they need us. I told them on the phone that whatever we need to do, we're going to do it. And, you know, when I got off the plane in Cleveland, the guy asked me, what are y'all going to do with this? I said, we going to help the family fight for justice. And in fact, I don't often do this, but where's the funeral director? Yeah, well, who's in the family? I don't want the family to worry about funeral expenses. I'm gonna give you a check for $10,000 from Nash Action Network. And let me say this, and many of the families that are here knows that I help, but I rarely say this, but I want people to understand we have an obligation to be with each other. And I hope the family sues the city, get $1 zillion. You don't owe me nothing back. We should not be calling ourselves leaders and ministers if we're not gonna lead and minister. This family did not plan on Frank being kneed to death. This was not in a family plan. Did 24 years under questionable circumstances. Just got out of jail. And just a few days later, killed by a policeman. He did his time for what you accused him of a crime. Well, now, where is the policeman that put his knee on his back and the other policeman? And when he was begging for his life, told him to shut the F up. Well, if you made Frank pay for something his family say he didn't do, we come to tell you those two police need to pay for what we know they did do. The reality is that as I was riding into Canton from Cleveland a little while ago, the challenge is on this city to do what is right. You can't give us Frank back, but you can give justice to this family. And you don't tell me about Frank's background. You should have checked the cop's background before you put him in. I mean, I'm reading all this stuff about, well, he didn't put on the form certain thing he did. So you should have right then prosecuted that he got the job under false pretenses. If he got the job under false pretenses, how are you going to let him now tell you the truth about what happened with Frank when he lied to get his job in the first place? When I'm riding into Canton, they talk about this is the home of the Hall of Fame for the NFL. If you can't do justice for Frank, you will be the Hall of Shame around this country. An unarmed man, knee on his back. What does that say to everyone in here that you can do this to us? I don't care if we Baptist, Pentecostal, assalamu alaikum, my brothers from the nation. It doesn't matter. You don't ask what way we worship God. You see us all as expendable. And we come to tell you that Frank mattered to us. His life had value to us. And we are going to stand up for the sanctity of Frank Tyson's life. You don't judge value of life based on your matrix and metrics. You can't give life, and you can't take it away. I want you to turn briefly to the book of St. Matthew. Let me do it out of St. Luke. St. Luke 15th chapter, first verse. It says, now the tax collectors and sinners were all gathering around to hear Jesus. But the Pharisees and the teachers of the law muttered, this man welcomes sinners and eats with them. Then Jesus told them this parable. Suppose one of you has 100 sheep and loses one of them. Doesn't he leave the 99 in the open country and go after the lost sheep until he finds it? Want to use for a thought for about 6 minutes. What about the lost sheep? If a big dignitary with big titles had been killed by the police, you'd have every elected official in the state at the funeral. If there was somebody with big dollars that had been mistreated, they'd all been here. But I was taught in Kojic that we were not called for those that sit high. We were called for those that were the rejected, the unaccepted. And the reason I can identify with Frank is because I've been rejected. I've been accepted. Yeah, the other night they invited me to the Met Ball, but I've been to Rikers Island too, on the other side of the cell for marching. And anytime, that's what's wrong with too many of our leaders, Melina. Anytime you start getting invited to the White House and to Met Ball and you can't come for the Franks, you need to hang up. Ben Crump had already told me the day of the funeral, and all I thought about walking that red carpet is Jesus saying to me, but what about the lost sheep? Or the big shots is here. But what about the lost sheep? The only reason they listen to you is if you're speaking for more than yourself. And we've got too many ministers that are into performing rather than serving. You get up and make a good speech, a good sermon, but you don't help nobody. You don't stand for nothing. You don't represent truth in the face of lies. I don't care about what they invite me to. I'm a preacher called to stand up for the Frank Tysons of this world. I got brothers in jail. I know what it is to have people in jail that are not guilty of what they say. I know how that feels. My brother is in jail. So this is not some highfalutin thing. You can call me any name you want. I'm not going to be what you call me. I'm going to be what I call myself. Frank Tyson, they can write all they want about his background in the paper. Write the background of the policeman. He was the one that was paid by taxpayer dollars. He was the one given a badge and a gun. He had procedures he was supposed to follow. Show me in your procedure manual where you put your knee on a man's back. Show me in the manual where when he begs for his life, you tell him to shut the F up. Show me in your manual, in your procedures, how you laid the man lay there and after he's limp, wait minutes before they come to help. Is your training just a prop or is your training something enforceable? Well, we have bad cops. Well, bad cops that do bad things, that break the law, need to go to jail like we have bad people that go to jail in our community. Somebody in our community do something wrong, we can't go to the judge and say, well, we have bad folks. You prosecute them. And we want these policemen to face the same charges that we dealing with George Floyd's family. And if you think we playing, that's why we got George's brother with us and uncle with us. To this morning, there's several policemen going, hoping to get lunch in jail in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We are going to stand with this family all the way. We know how to get here. I just got to Canton. I know the route now. Because this is an assault on all of us. And nobody qualifies to be a victim. But we qualify to be who we are by how we respond to the victimization. We are challenged in this scripture where Jesus said, yeah, I understand. You say I eat with criminals and I do whatever, but Jesus said, well, let me tell you the parable. And he went into, if you had 100 sheep and one got lost, you would leave the 99 and look for the lost sheep. Frank did several years, 24 years in jail for a crime that his family and friends said he didn't commit. He didn't do 24 years at an Ivy League school. He didn't do all that time as a member of one of the top fraternities. 24 years in jail. But we here because we're mandated by Jesus. What about the lost sheep? Are you too important to deal with the lost sheep? Then you're not a shepherd. If you can't leave the comfort of what you're doing, you come to save that which is lost. Frank is a challenge to all of us. That do we stand for what we say? Or do we just say it to get on the news at night? Stand up for the Franks of this world. Because if they can get away with it with Frank, they'll get away with it with you. Let me tell you something. How they handle this Frank Tyson case will set law in this city. Because if they walk away free, I'm talking about these cops that did this to him, it will set a precedent that next time it'll be your child. And they will quote the Frank Tyson precedent to establish law. We cannot afford to establish this kind of recklessness and this kind of abuse of human life. They must pay for Frank Tyson. So family, be strong. Hold your head up high. You got nothing to be ashamed of. You're the victims, not the victimizers. And you must now take on the mantle of fighting like other families had to fight. Like Jacob Blake and like Michael Brown Sr. and others been fighting. Like Terrence Floyd. Like Sabrina's mother. You must pick up that mantle and fight. You didn't ask to pick it up, but it's on your shoulders now. And I can tell you, I come to tell you as I close, that if you wear that mantle, it seems like it's heavy, but God will give you strength that you didn't even know you had. God will make a way out of no way. He'll open doors that no one can open. He'll shut doors that no one will shut. He'll be your rock in a weary land. There is a God that sits higher than the judge downtown. There is a God that sits higher than the judge downtown. Here's a God that sits higher than the man, the city council. And if God be for us, if God be for us, if God be for us, there's more than the whole world against us. Stand up, family. Rise up, community. Stand up for Frank Tyson. Stand up for Frank Tyson. Stand up for Frank Tyson.